Corporate accountability is defined by the ways corporations are held accountable for their actions. In America, corporations have a lot of power and control in our government. Often these powerful corporations are not held accountable for their actions. Examples of this could be pollution, gentrification, unionization or worker abuse, or climate change. Accountability for these actions is achieved when the corporations or the consumers of the company force the hand of the company to end these problems. A good example of this was in the 1960s during the Anti-Smoking Act. Cigarette corporations were pumping out pro-smoking propaganda for children and teenagers at the time. The whole time this was going on, these companies were aware they were bad for people's health and the public health in general. The government eventually got involved. These companies then used their money to try to keep the old laws. These behaviors affected the public very directly, and generally corporations were not held accountable for their actions. During the COVID-19 pandemic, corporations had much more power over the public due to the newly created supply-demand dynamic of essential items such as toilet paper and food. Companies that sold these things created an environment where these items were highly inflated in price due to the demand. Many people were also out of jobs during this period, so things that were affordable for some people previously became unaffordable. These companies, if responsible, could have tried to figure out ways to provide these products for a cheaper price for a short period of time to help stabilize both the economy and the financials of their consumers. Gentrification is achieved when a community is shoved out of itself, when people are kicked out of the geographic location they reside in to make way for new things, like a company's factories or new commercial shops, stores, or restaurants. Ways corporations often need to take accountability for these actions include when a corporation puts a chain restaurant or shop in a neighborhood that used to be home to smaller shops that were locally owned. This very directly hurts the economy of these places. An example of this could be Amazon's invasion of Seattle, which is one of the biggest companies invading on the original culture of the city by replacing historic buildings in the downtown area for its business. Consumers often respond to foul behaviors by corporations with things like boycotting. Boycotting is when a group of people or movement of people attempt to hit a corporation in the wallet by refusing to consume their products or services. This downstroke in sales is meant to hurt the company, locking the company in place, so they cannot make a profit until they choose to change their behaviors. There are many different motives groups have for boycotting. In November of 2017, Sean Hannity's fans chose not only to boycott using Keurig, but to buy up large amounts of Keurig's coffee-making machines to destroy them. In what was definitely a strange example of boycotting, Sean Hannity was upset because Keurig was no longer interested in advertising on his show. Companies are supposed to be able to take care of their workers through various benefits and payment. When they cannot, often their workers unionize, putting the company at risk. Often unions lead to workers going on strikes until they get what they want. Workers in this position often unionize to protect their rights and job safety. Often this is a problem among the working class or developing populations where companies abuse the cheap labor of undereducated groups. An example of this could be the coal miners' strike of 1902. In Pennsylvania, the coal miners of the anthracite cornfields refused to mine until their mining company recognized the legitimacy of their union. In many of the examples used today, we see that these actions should be taken seriously. Corporations behaving as though they can do whatever they want is a problem that has been relevant for a long time, and it is not likely it will be getting much better anytime soon. However, a lot of progress has been made. In many of the examples in this presentation, things were resolved or are starting to resolve. In the meantime, it is important for those who can do their part to stop the problems created by these corporations. A great small way to make sure corporations are responsible is boycotting. As consumers, the best thing we can do to tell a company we don't agree with their actions is by not engaging economically with that company. A step further than boycotting, you could also help a unionized group of workers by helping to picket and protest with them. This communicates to these companies that you, the consumer, are on the side of the worker, not the company.